Okay, our next task is to give the user the option to click things so they can sort and filter the results from the API. So we'll head back to VS Code and we'll start in the member list component, and just below the user params here, we'll create a class property called gender list, and this is for a select option in the HTML. So we'll have an array of objects, and the object property for the first one, we'll give it a value of male and the display of males. And to the right of this curly bracket, we'll add another one, and we'll give it a value of female and a display of females. And we'll also add an extra method inside here to reset the filters. So we'll add a function called reset filters, and inside here we'll say list.userparams equals new user params, and we'll say list.accountService.currentUser and add the parentheses there, and then we'll say list.loadMembers to get the fresh batch of members that match the filters that we're going to reset it to. And then we'll update our template. So just below the row at the top, let's just move the div inwards. And below the row, we'll say div, and we'll give it a class of text-center and margin top of 3. And we'll say h2 and say your matches and add a dash, and then we'll use interpolation and we'll say member service dot paginated results, which is a signal, so we need to use parentheses, and say pagination dot total items. And below that closing div, we'll add another div and we'll give it a class of container and say empty-3, and inside here we'll add a form that's going to contain form elements. We'll have selectors and we'll give them a way to submit what they want to select as well. So we'll add a form and we'll use a template form for this because it's going to be quite simple. So we'll say hashtag form equals, and we'll say it's a type of ng form. And we'll of course need to bring in the forms module to make use of that. So in the imports of the member list components, let's also add the forms module. So we'll say forms module and then back to our template, and we'll give it an ng submit of load members. And then inside the form we'll add a div, and we'll give this div a class of d-flex for display flex, and we'll give it margin left and right of 2, which we use mx for. And then we'll add a label, and we'll take out the for, and we'll give this a class of col-form-label, and then we'll specify age from, and add a colon and a space, and then below the label we'll add an input, and we'll give it a type of number. We'll give it a class of form-control and ms-1, and we'll need to give this some style, and we'll give it a width of 70 pixels. And because this is a template form, let's bring this down and this down as well. And because this is a template form, we need to give it a name property, and this is going to be for min age, and we'll use the ng model. So we'll say square brackets parentheses and then ng model and say equals the user params and the min age, and we'll copy this div and we'll paste it below, and this is going to be for the age 2, and it's going to be the name of max age, and we'll set the user params dot max age, and we'll copy this div down a third time and paste it below, and this one we'll use it for the selection, and instead of age 2 we'll say show, and instead of the inputs let's remove this, and we'll use a select, and we'll give it a name of gender, and we will need to give this some style as well. So we'll say style, and we'll give this a width of 130 pixels, and we'll give it a class of form-select, and we'll give it margin S of 1. And let's bring this down as well because we need to give this a few extra properties. Or we at least need to give it the ng model property, I should say. And we'll give it the ng model. And we'll set it equal to the user params.gender. And then inside the select, we need to give it some options. So we'll use the for and say var gender of, and then say gender list, which we get from our component. And we'll just use the index as the tracking. Well, we do have unique values for this. So let's just say gender.value as the tracking value. And then inside the for, we'll specify an option. And the value needs to be in square brackets. So we'll say value and the gender.value as the value, and then inside the option we'll say gender.display. And then below this div and before the form closing, we'll add a button and we'll give it a class equal to btn and btn-primary and ms-1, and we'll give it a type of submit as it's inside the form, so when the user presses return they should be able to submit the form. And then we'll say apply filters. And we'll copy this button down and we'll change primary to info. And we'll give this button a click event. And we'll use this to call the reset filters method. And we'll remove we'll change the type to just be button, and change the apply filters to reset filters. And let's go take a look at our progress. So if we go to the matches, then obviously I've missed a bit of styling here because this should be going across the way and not down the way. So let's go back and take a look at what I missed there. And sure, I've missed the class in the form. So we need to give the form a class, and we'll give it display flex, dflex, which means it's going to be displayed as a row. And we'll also give it margin bottom of 3 as well. And if we go take a look now we can see these going across rather than down. So what we should find is that our filters work. So if I select females and then apply filters, we see the loading and we load the female members. If I select males, I apply filters, we select the males. But what we are missing is the age of the users, which is not very helpful when trying to test whether these ones work. So we'll head back. And we'll need to go to our member card for this. So let's open up the member card component template. And where we're displaying the member known as, let's also add a comma and add the curly brackets, and we'll say member parentheses and age. And let's go back and take a look. So now we've got the age, we can easily see if our age filters are going to work. So we've got a variety of ages here. Let's say we want to go from 34, which includes all of these users, and we've got 2 on a second page as well, but let's try and apply filters there. And Mayo stays in place, but let's increase the age to 35 and apply the filters. And Mayo has disappeared from that list. And let's see, let's say maximum age of 44, which should include Todd, but remove Porter, Skinner, Davis, and apply filters there. And okay, good. That looks good to me. So now we've got our filters, and let's test the reset filters button, and they go back to what they were before. Okay, good. So we've got our filters working, and next we'll take a look at ordering our results.